Please do me a favor, share where you're located. I know your name is easily pronounced, but go ahead and do it for me, and the name of your business, books, or anything else you've done.
Hey, Javanka. First off, it's been thank you for having me on Vision Pros. This is a lot of fun. I know you're out in Texas. I'm in LA today, downtown LA. That's where I'm stationed. That's where our shows are filmed, recorded, all that good stuff distributed. And the name of my shows, Mission Matters. I host 8 different shows. Everything from I have a business show, I have a money show, I have a marketing show, a tech show, a startup garage show, a bunch of different shows that I host. I've done over 6,000 interviews and man, having fun and keeping it going.
I love that. That okay, as I mentioned before, you do a lot. You've done a lot. And to have all of these shows, may I ask what started all of that?
It's kind of interesting because I like to call myself an accidental entrepreneur. So in the previous book that we distributed and released, it's called Driven. And on that book, myself and the other co-author, Elliot Callan, he's known as the serial entrepreneur. So he started a bunch of businesses, distributed and started, sold, all that good stuff, a bunch of businesses. Myself, I was a financial advisor. And eventually I ended up starting a podcast. And after I started that podcast, the business started to grow. And that's when I got further into media. And then, 9 years later, I can't believe it. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of episodes, lot of content, and really a lot of privilege to be able to interview people, to be able to come on shows like your own, and really to have a lot of fun.
You know what's crazy? This is going to be so random for you, Adam. On your website,
Yeah.
you're a star. You look like a star. You look like somebody that would not, I wouldn't say not communicate with you, but you are so down to earth, Adam.
I'm from the Midwest. I said I'm in LA today, but I'm from Michigan. Come on now.
But that's one thing about websites, in my opinion, is you go on there, they're very pretty. You know, they got your best
Mhm,
picture on there, they have your accolades, all that you've done. And one thing I love about what I do in this part of my life is the fact that I
mhm.
get to allow people to understand there's a person behind all of that. There is
Yeah.
this really great person named Adam Torres that's human too, right? And so with that being said, all these businesses didn't just happen overnight in nine
Mhm.
years. Where did it get started? Tell me like when it was like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm on one, now I'm on two, three, four.
Yeah. That the pile up of episodes was kind of random. What it was I don't like to tell people no. So in the beginning, I didn't want to tell people no, and then I'm like, and you just start doing one, then you do two. In the beginning, you really got to beg people to come on the show, right?
Yeah.
Then you're like, and the first person I ever interviewed was the other co-founder here. His name is Shirag Sagar. So I was like, and it was his idea to start the podcast. I'm like, I'm not starting no podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was. And so he's the one who eventually twisted my arm, and we started it, things started to grow. But really with those first episodes, it was just, I didn't even edit. Like, you have a fancy software, you use StreamYard, you have all these amazing graphics. I used my phone, and I didn't even edit like the first 300 episodes. Like,
Wow.
it was just like no audio edit, nothing. I was just like recording conversations, upload it. That's a podcast. Like, that was it. And so we accumulated all these episodes, and one day, and we started, releasing one a week. Then it was one at one point, one a day. Then it was two a day. Then it was three a day, and it got to the point to where we had something like 70 or 50, 60 or 70 episodes like backlogged, and I was still had a full schedule. So my record is 91 interviews in a week, and my average during when we first started was around 65 to 75 would be like my average interview schedule for a week. And then one day we had a backlog of like 70 interviews or something like that, and we didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, we can't bring somebody on the show and tell them, hey, your episode's going to be released in 6 months. What are you going to do? So I just told the team, hey, release them all. And they were like, what? And I'm like, "Really? Yeah." They're like, when? I'm like, now. I don't know. Like, we got to tell these people, like, these people want to hear their episodes. We're getting emails. I don't want people mad at me.
Yeah.
And a strange thing happened. We released them all, and our per episode download went up. So if you think about that for a moment, that doesn't really make sense. Like if you release 70 posts on Instagram, you'll probably get shadow banned or something like
Yeah.
that. Or you release 70 posts on Facebook or LinkedIn or something, your content's not going to get distributed. And so I don't really recommend this for anybody. And I don't really know, like that's not a strategy I teach. I'm just telling you what happened in my life. But yeah, our per episode download went up, which meant that, more people were listening to each episode and it was growing. And I was just like, well, I guess maybe, the algorithm doesn't, people that are into my type of content, they're in, and so let's just do more. And then you keep doing more, and then we focus the whole business around that, and that's where we come to now. And this year I'll do, for example, between 1,500 and 2,000 interviews. So
Yeah.
just this year alone. So I do about 40 years of content every year. Mhm.
You know what's interesting is what I got from all of that is that gummit, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I love that. I actually got chills saying that out loud, Adam. You didn't think about it. And I think that that's what happens with most people that want to become entrepreneurs or
Mm.
are entrepreneurs. We get into our head and we're like, oh, this needs to be perfect. But what you just said, Adam, was like, load them up. Load them up. I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody says. The service that you're doing for these individuals, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't going to be so quick. So he's like, just load them up. And lo and behold, when
Mhm.
you just stop thinking so much and worried about what someone else is going to think or what the algorithm is going to do,
Yeah.
it just worked out like
Yeah.
that's exciting for me.
Yeah, it's exciting for me, and ultimately, and in looking at that, to me, at the end of it all, it's like, I mean, God's in control anyway. So if like if that's this is going to be good or bad at the end, you're one person away from whatever. You're one phone call away from it being the best day of your life or the worst day of your life. So it doesn't, like, I'm like, God's in control anyway. So if something's going to really really happen, then it's part of my journey. That's that.
Please share with us your vision.
Yeah. My vision is to continue to help entrepreneurs, executives, experts, to help people that maybe don't always feel that their voice should be heard. My vision is to give them a platform, to give them an opportunity, whether it's coming on my show, whether it's my company helping them launch shows. We've launched over 200, now going on 250 podcasts for our agency. We've also helped people publish books. We published over 400 authors, including Barry Sanders, his Bye Bye Barry documentary. So my vision is to continue to walk in my calling, which is helping others tell their story, and hopefully maybe at some point inspiring them to do so. That's why I come on these shows. It's not to sell anything, actually. It's just because I want other people to know that if I can do it, you can do it too. I was the worst podcaster in history. My first show was so bad that I didn't even use my own name. I was so scared to be behind a mic or anything else. I didn't even use my real name. I didn't even do, and I wasn't even allowing myself on camera until after 3,000 episodes. I had such a fear of the camera. So think about that, 3,000 episodes before I even turned on the camera to be able to do that.
Wow.
So, like, if I can do it, you can do it too. That's my goal. And if you're listening to this, you don't have to use an agency. You don't have to go start a show yourself. My first show took me like 10 minutes to start. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know there were podcast agencies. So that's my vision, to help others understand, know, and hopefully be inspired to know that their voice matters and that they should share their story too.
When it comes to Mission Matters, why that name?
Originally, the company was actually called Money Matters, and I thought it was going to be we thought, myself and the other co-founder, Shirag, we thought that it was going to be like a money platform, like, which isn't a bad, because I was a financial advisor. My background's in finance, so I had almost 15 years or 14 years in that business. And I was running my own RIA, and I had this other company on the side, and this is the one that I was like, just it wasn't my full-time focus yet.
Yeah.
And I over time, both start kind of, growing, things are going well. And one day I go to I'm doing an interview, and somebody says, Adam, mission matters, or excuse me, money matters, but mission matters too. And
Mhm.
I'll tell you, it was like God just like lightning just hit me. Like God was speaking through this person. I could feel it. And so I called the other co-founder, and I'm like, hey, Shirag, let's what do you think about the name Mission Matters? And he says, well, Adam, we were talking about it. We forget about it. And then we leave, then we come back to it. Like, he calls me like maybe a month later, something like that, a couple weeks later. And he's like, hey, Adam, what do you think about the name Mission Matters? And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, Shirag. But if we look that up, and we don't have, like, if there's enough money in the bank account, we have to get the domain. We can't do it if we can't get the domain.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, we'll do it. Fine. And so we look it up. It was, of course, taken. We spent more money in a domain than I ever thought I would in my life. And then we basically, within 9 days, did a complete rebrand. We restarted everything. So brand new show, lost all our subscribers, a brand new website, new book. I mean, think about it this way: we had books already published. We had over 1,500 interviews out there for the old brand. We had a website. We had all our social media. So it's hard enough to get one media company running. So to pause it, stop, and for me, feel like, God was telling me to do this, and I'm like, you say step, I got to step, right? So, so it was really a faith based like leap over like stopping something that was already working, and then really starting over and starting it again. And within 9 days, then we had it all relaunched. We had over 30 social media channels at that point, and all the shows were niched out. So instead of it being one show, there were 8 different shows based on the level of content I put out, and we niched everything out to where we created an entire platform around it, and then things just started to grow. So God, gave us a calling, told us to do something. We did it. We leaped in faith, and we're rewarded. Mhm.
What was one of your most significant learning experiences in this all?
I think it's to not try to emulate what you see. Like, you got
Mm.
to really be authentic in what you're doing. So in the beginning, this is like, 9, 10 years ago. So it's kind of like the early days of, let's just say, even awareness around podcasts, awareness around marketing. At least for me, for digital marketing, for like creating a brand online, it was kind of awareness. And if you look at like some of the earlier content I had out there for Money Matters, it wasn't quite authentically me. If it
Mhm.
was, then I probably wouldn't have put out that content. Not that it was, off brand. It was just really hardcore, like, money content. And it was just what other people were putting out at that time.
Mhm.
But it really finding my voice and leaning into mission. If I would have started with that, then it probably would have saved me a couple years, because I would have known, like, authentically in the beginning, like, that. I don't know if I would have come up with the Mission Matters name like that. Again, I think that was from God, but I would have probably put out different. Like, if you look at my first book that I put out, it was called Money Matters, and
Mhm.
it's like me in a suit, and there's like money on the cover and stuff like that. Kind of super cheesy, super cheesy. So if you look at you, and I leave it out there on purpose. I leave that book out there on purpose, and I don't work now. Back then, that was a self-published book, and the design's not perfect, all that. But I leave it out there, and I call it my ugly duckling,
Mhm.
because I want people to look at that book and be like, "What? Adam put this?" Like, I stand by the words, by the way, the story, the words. That's all authentically me. But if you look at the design and some of the other things, you look at it, and it definitely wasn't me in retrospect. So I
Yeah.
think being authentic, not emulating, not just looking at what other people are doing, and thinking if you did that same thing, it's going to work for you. Not necessarily the case. So just be yourself, and you'll be okay. And God will put the right people in your place. There's more listeners than anybody can ever handle. There's more people. If you're supposed to have a listener or a business partner or whatever attracted to you in your world, it's going to come. Like, you just got to keep walking in faith. Mhm.
So, in regards to legacy dreaming, if you could leave behind one invisible legacy, something not seen but deeply felt, what would it be?
I would hope that I inspire others to launch shows. Like that would be fun to me. And I don't have to be seen. I don't have to be on somebody's show for that. But to me, it's multiplying the ability to help others. So when I think about like how do you help a billion people, you help 1,000 people, help 1,000 people, help 1,000 people. And how do you help them? In my case, it's helping people tell their story. It's helping document it. In the past, before podcasts and all this was around, other people wrote our stories. Who are the other people, quote unquote? People that had access, that had resources, that maybe had the money, that had you go far enough back, it's who had the paper, who had the papyrus, who had the ink, who had the like whatever we were writing, who had the clay tablet. I don't know how far back you got to go for that one, but but basically now we get to be a part of telling our own story, documenting our own histories, and really making sure that our legacy and our time is not forgotten or rewritten for us. Especially if we're doing this stuff in mass, when you think about entire moments in history being blotted out or not recollected or rewritten by people in power that maybe didn't always have our best interest or didn't have the general population's best interest and had very specific reasons for writing history the way they did. Nowadays, it's kind of hard to do that if you're participating. If you're not participating, well, then one way or another, your legacy is going to be written. It's either going to be written by you or somebody else.
What tips do you have for entrepreneurs today?
I'd say get back to reading and studying. Like
Mhm.
get back to reading and studying. I'd say the other side of being an entrepreneur is equipping yourself. When I look back in the beginning, and especially now, things are moving so fast. Like, and so you can go to Chat GPT, you can ask this answer, you can ask that answer, you can get things back quickly. But I'd say take a little bit of pause and get into like some bigger bodies of work. So like look back at some of the classics, get to some of the primary sources again, and maybe do some reading. Maybe like take some time out to like just slow up just a little bit, because if you can never still those voices, whether it's through reading or whether it's through something else, then maybe you can't hear what you're supposed to be doing. Like sometimes we go too fast. So just pause a little bit, read a full book one day, like, mess with your attention span. Like you don't gotta like, don't worry, the work's gonna be there tomorrow. I promise you. And once you solve one problem, the next one's coming. So it's okay. Like, but chill.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.